It's Krazz back at Fusion 3.5 again, and another super guest who I'm proud to say, being from Progzilla Radio, is a fellow presenter on board, the legendary Pete Jones.
Ah, thank you. Nice to meet you in person at last.
Yes, we've known each other for about 2.5 years.
Yes, I've been listening to your dulcet tones for a long time. It's good.
They're not dulcet today. We're on a cell phone, folks. But we're going to fix that if we're lucky enough to do this again next year. Let's talk about your music, Pete, and two audiences, because I'll play the audio on this for my radio show.
Okay.
And I won't edit it, so anything you say is permanent.
Okay.
Is who is Pete Jones? Where did the influence come from to be a musician?
Well, I've been a musician all my life. Really, I started playing, I think, before I could really talk. So I started playing, well, not quite, but at a very young age, about 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
And it's the only thing I've ever really been good at, so I've sort of centered on that. I was always, I did the regular stuff, the school plays and that kind of thing. I got in bands when I was a teenager. And for a while, and I left school and I took a gap year, which I'm still experiencing 23 years later.
Sure.
Yeah. And I went straight into playing in what we call in England the working men's clubs, which is for the clubs that were made for the for the pits and those kind of industries and the steelworks and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So social clubs, and I did that. I started that straight after I left school, but I always sort of originally wanted to be a pop star, I suppose. In that quaint little thing that we used to have, pop stars. And so I started working on my own stuff. I wrote an album took me about 10 years, and that kind of fell flat. And around the age 31, 32, I started to get really disillusioned because I couldn't work out which hoops I needed to jump through to sort of get further on in the industry. And I had writer's block for a long time. And then eventually I started listening to sort of modern prog, such as Big Train and Frost and that kind of thing, which I didn't know about at all. And so I got into listening to those guys and started sort of doodling, and one day I wrote something which turned into a visit to Civic, and then Tiger Moth Tales was born.
Interesting. Now, you're a fan of Genesis, right?
Oh yes.
The inspiration's there, I can see that. Are there some other bands that you pull influence from, or
probably,
musicians?
Yeah, I probably borrow heavily and try to disguise it, hopefully well enough so that no one notices. But I mean, my trilogy of bands was Genesis, Queen, which started way back earlier than I was.
The early Queen, yeah.
Well, I was listening to Bohemian Rhapsody in the car when I was 4 or 5. So that sort of went right into the grey matter. And the Beatles, so that's my trilogy, the Holy Trinity, if you will.
Okay.
But apart from that, obviously, so many influences. Too many to mention, really. But obviously, Big Train, I think, have played a part, sort of making me realise that it was still like an ongoing thing, and loads of things, there's loads of singers that have influenced me, people like, George Michael was a big influence on my singing back in the day,
Okay.
And a guy who you may have heard of called Paul Carrack.
Yes, with Free, no, not Free,
No.
Babies, no.
No, Genesis related. He was with Michael and the Mechanics.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a fantastic.
Kind of one-hit wonders for
Ice.
radio.
Ice. How long, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
But there's so many vocalists that I admire and players as well. So there's a bit of all sorts thrown into the magic. Hopefully it's magic.
I have to ask you, being sight impaired, you seem, it almost seems like it gives you that fifth, not dimension, that sense of smell, touch, all that. There's like another sense. Does that make sense? I like
It does, and it's a question that I've been asked, and I've asked myself. Really, is how much being blind sort of made a difference to the music, and it's impossible to answer really, because I went blind when I was 15 months old, so we don't know how I would have turned out otherwise. But it does seem to me that I clung to music, in a way. And I know a lot of blind people who are musicians. It seems to be a thing that a lot of us get into to one degree or another. So it's possible that my hearing is sort of overcompensated for the lack of sight, but it's impossible to prove one way or the other. But I'm just very happy that I can do what I do.
Yeah, and you do it well. If you're watching this at home, you saw Pete's show, and it was brilliant. I use that word a lot now that I come to England, but it really is. I mean, I knew what to expect seeing our little Christmas party we had at our radio station. Pete played. That was my only live performance with Pete.
Right.
And it's safe to say you raised the bar here a notch or two.
Well, it's great playing with the lads. Obviously, on the albums, it's pretty much all me. I mean, there's sometimes a guest vocalist, such as, well, of course, we've got fantastic, amazing Andy Latimer on the latest album, which
From Camel.
From Camel, yeah.
Right.
So when it comes out, obviously the studio, that's all me. But then when we have to put it together, there's four of us.
Right.
And there's always that moment where we go through it for the first time and you think, oh shit, is this going to work? And they always manage to sort of pull it off. Obviously, they're the Red Bazar bunch as well.
Okay.
It gets a bit confusing because we're now we're two very different bands, but we're with the same personnel. So it's great playing live with the lads.
You mentioned Andy Lattimore. You're now their keyboardist once they get back out on the road. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Yeah, another tour.
Tell us a little. Yeah.
Well, I am very soon into the sort of Time of Tales story, I suppose. Cocoon came out at the end of 2014, and I think it took a while to get off the ground because obviously who's this guy? Who's this Pete Jones Time of thing, whatever it is. So that took a little while to get off the ground, but by 2015 people had started to sort of hear about it, and it was only, I think it was August 2015 when Andy Latimer got in touch, and it was through a mutual friend who had heard Cocoon and that Camel were looking for a keyboard player at the time, and Andy got in touch with me, and I was like, wow, this is big, And I didn't even know that much about Camel, as in their back catalogue, but I knew it was big, Geez, this is what's thinking about, So I joined them in 2016. We did a small tour in Japan, and then we did the bigger tour in 2018, which was just fantastic, and culminated in the Albert Hall performance, which is one of the proudest achievements of my life.
Oh, wow.
And to have it there on DVD or CD, listening to it, it's
preserved forever.
It's like we made a Seconds Out or something, to me anyway. It's like, wow, it just sounds amazing, and it was, and I was there. so yeah, it's fantastic to be working with the lads again in 2023. I mean, I think a lot of people got the idea that tour we did in 2018 was the last tour. And some people think that this one coming up is the last tour.
Hey, John pulled that off, so you can pull it off.
We haven't, as far as we're concerned, we haven't signed off on it on anything like that. We just want to get out and tour, and then hopefully again and again. So it's very much looking forward to that.
You have a hunger for that live audience again now that hopefully lockdowns are gone.
Yeah, I mean
feedback.
It was wacky in 2018, especially places like when we did Turkey.
Sure.
And Holland as well, particularly. But Turkey was just, I felt like it was, I felt like we were the Beatles or something. The way the audience reacted. It was, to the point where I was forgetting to sort of concentrate on what we were doing. It was just,
trying to take it all in and not have to exert.
Every time Andy got to the end of a sentence almost, it was like, and just the encore, just the chants just went on for ages. It was fantastic. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty high bar.
Yeah.
beat. But I mean, in general terms, yeah, we you know, it's been very strange not being able to gig, and of course towards the end of last year we started again. And we actually, the first gig we did as Time Off Tales was well, the first 2 gigs was the HRH gigs.
Okay.
I mean, what a way to what a way to come back, you know.
Sure.
And
Come back big.
today has been on a par, if not better than that. You know, we've had you know, great singing along, as you would have heard, and
That was
just
yeah. And was it da or
it's,
la?
It's nah.
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 Like sha na na.
I always say I want to have plenty of nanas, and someone keeps saying that sounds a bit funny. I don't know what the thing is there, but but no, it's a bit like Hey Jude, really. It's the nanas or nanas if you prefer. But yeah, that's great. You know, I mean, even when I did it in that song, I thought, come on, this is a bit cheesy. And I thought, never going to buy that. But
They did.
People, you know,
We bought it and we sang it.
People
You
seem
told
to-
us to sing it. We did.
People seem to like to join in that bit, and it was, I mean, it's amazing to hear everyone singing like that, and the energy. You know, when we do, you know, stuff like Tigers and the Butter, and obviously, hopefully, the new stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's great.
That's awesome. If our viewers want to find out how to get a hold of Tiger Moth Tales, Peter Jones' website, where they can find. Well, I know you're on Bandcamp. We know that without a doubt. But
The website is actually not up to date at the moment, I'm afraid.
okay, so we won't tell them what the website is.
Yeah, I mean,
You're on Facebook.
It will be up to date. TigerMothTales.com will be up to date at some
Okay.
point in the near future. But yeah, then you can follow me on Facebook,
Okay.
and also, you know, all the releases are, well, they're at the White Knight Records shop, but also I think a lot of people like to go to the Bandcamp page, which is tigermothtales.bandcamp.com, and that's where the new album is, A Song of Spring. So go get it, folks.
Buy it. And thank you so much, Pete. It's been a pleasure talking to you and finally meeting you.
You
I'm going
too.
to shake your hand, and it was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm the Krazz from Progzilla Radio, and I guess we'll be going back to the show, and we'll see you later.
Take care.